Hi everyone, my name is Jen. I'm an author and a book reviewer, and like many bookish people, this time of year, autumn, is my favourite time of year. And over the course of the last 11 years on BookTube, I've made plenty of videos recommending books that I think are perfect for the Burr months, for September, October, November. Well, December is getting into winter, isn't it? But you know what I mean. But today I'm going to do another one because you have been asking me to do that. And I'm going to try and talk about books that I haven't really talked about much before, and some that I definitely have never talked about before. I've split this into 3 sections. So we've got books that I have read and loved for grown-ups, and then we've got a few books for kids or for adults who would like a little bit of nostalgia, which is me. And then I have shopped my shelves and pulled out all the books that I would love to read right now if I had an infinite amount of time, because they are screaming autumn from the shelves. Before I do that though, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I am an author, and because I love autumn, most of my books are, well, either set in or are geared towards this time of year. So if you will indulge me a second, I will just mention those very quickly. So we have got The Sister Who Ate Her Brothers and Other Gruesome Tales. This is illustrated by Adam D'Souza, and it's forgotten fairy tales from around the world with positive queer representation, positive disability representation, and it is perfect for anyone age 8, 9 upwards. For a slightly younger audience, I wrote a series of picture books called the Franklin and Luna picture books. The first one is called Franklin's Flying Bookshop, which is about a dragon and his best friend called Luna. The sequel is Franklin and Luna Go to the Moon. And the third one, which is possibly the most autumnal, is Franklin and Luna and the Book of Fairy Tales. So these are for kids aged 3 to 7, but my daughter has read them and she is 18 months. Then we've got the Bookshop book, which is a non-fiction book about 300 weird and wonderful bookshops around the world. Bookshop towns, mobile bookshops, and the fantastic people who run them. This is a book for grown-ups, and another book for grown-ups is Please Do Not Touch This Exhibit, which is a poetry collection looking at folklore and IVF and disability. Plus, I couldn't lay my hands on a copy, I don't know where it has run to, but The Beginning of the World in the Middle of the Night is a short story collection that I also wrote for grown-ups, and this is a bit gothic and a bit twisted and will really get under your skin. The first story is about a world where you can buy animal hearts online and put them into people. So that should give you some idea of what to expect from that. And my most recent children's book, which is called Audrey Fry is a Spy. As you can see, it's very autumnal. It's illustrated by David Ortu, and this one is a children's reader. So it's for kids aged about 6, 7. Okay, that's that out of the way, that's the housekeeping. Let's begin, or rather get onto, the books that I have read and loved and I think are very autumnal. I know that it is now October, but I'm still going to mention The Fortnight in September by R.C. Sherriff. If you want to be very particular about it, you could maybe pick this up and keep it until next September, but I think it would work in October as well. This is about a family called the Stevens family. It's set in the interwar years, and they are travelling to the seaside for their 2-week family holiday, which they always have in September. And it's just about the little intricate things that this family gets up to, the mundane but brilliant stuff that makes up their everyday lives, and the rather amusing, peculiar things about their relationship and how they interact with each other. It's just a slice of life novel, but it's so cozy. Did I read it for the first time last year or the year before? I can't quite remember. It may have been last year. What is time? But I adored this and have gifted it to so many people. When I think about autumnal books, I guess I should say what my criteria is. Cozy, historical, I like to gravitate towards at this time of year. Also creepy, obviously, and gothic, and crime too. So if you're looking for a crime series and haven't tried M.W. Craven's books that are set in the Lake District, then maybe give them a go. The first one is called The Puppet Show. It's following a detective called Washington Poe. It has some stereotypical stuff in it. I mean, he is a disgruntled detective who keeps on being threatened with being fired, like that kind of thing, but I still have really enjoyed them too. This one is set in November. This is Playing Games by Huma Qureshi. It's about 2 sisters and how very different they feel they are to each other. So one works in a very corporate job and is married and is trying to have a family. The other is wanting to make a career in the arts and is younger, and each envies what the other has. I remember reading this around this time of year and just absolutely loving it. Maybe family sagas are also something that I gravitate towards this time of year as well. The Chronicles of Whetherwhy. This is the first book in a trilogy which was published by, well, written by Anna James, was published by HarperCollins, yeah, last year, and the second one just came out, which I'm itching to get to. This is about a world which has a magic system based around the seasons. I mean, come on. Why wouldn't you want to live in that world? I mean, there are dangerous things in this world. That's maybe why you wouldn't want to live there. But everyone can be categorized into being a spring, a summer, an autumn, a winter. Not everybody has magic though, and just because you're sorted into a season doesn't mean that you will necessarily be doing lots of magic, but you might be really good, for instance, at bookbinding and be able to enhance that career through the use of magic. This follows two twins, and I don't really want to say too much more about that, except that it just made me really happy when I read it, and the audiobook is brilliant. This is middle grade, but this adult enjoyed it. The Midwich Cuckoos by John Wyndham, written in 1957. This is a creepy old school book about a town where everyone falls asleep, and then when they wake up, all the women are pregnant. Why are they pregnant? Whose babies are they pregnant with? It's really unsettling, and I think the conversations surrounding women's bodies and agency in this are actually well, they feel much more modern than 1957, so I really enjoyed that about it as well. But yeah, this book will just give you the shivers and you will think about it for a long time after you have finished reading it. Then we've got Ghost Music by Anne Yu. This is a book that came out a couple of years ago, and it's about a woman who's not in the happiest of marriages, especially because her mother-in-law keeps coming to stay and she just finds her very interfering. Then one day she gets a delivery of mushrooms to her house, and she doesn't know why they have turned up, but these mushrooms start growing, and it has this really claustrophobic feel to it, this book. It's like you're in a very damp place with lots of things growing on the walls and closing in on you, and that reflects how she feels about her relationship, and it's very eerie and gloomy but also very beautiful and musical, and I would highly recommend it. Then we have got Shy by Max Porter. I can't remember what time of year this book is set, but because it's focused on school, I always associate school with September. Plus the film adaptation of this has just come out. As I'm filming this, I think it came out yesterday. It's been in cinemas for a couple of weeks, but now it's on Netflix. So this is a book about Shy, who the world is kind of giving up on a little bit. I think he's 16, if I'm remembering that correctly, and people would say he's been acting out a lot, and he's been sent to this centre for kids who have been, air quotes, acting out a lot, and it's spending some time with him one night in his brain about all of the complicated things that he is thinking about, his sense of self and his view on the world. The film is going to be very different. I haven't watched it yet. I plan to watch it very soon, but the film is called Steve, and it is focused on a teacher in Shy's life. Shy is still in the film as well, and I believe that Max also wrote the script for the film, so I have full faith in this adaptation. It's going to be different and fascinating in its difference, I think, and it stars Cillian Murphy. So if you are someone who likes reading a book before watching the film, then perhaps pick this one up soon. Seascraper by Benjamin Wood, still not over this not being on the Booker Prize shortlist this year. It remains my favourite book from the long list. We're following Thomas, who is a guy who's 19, 20, but he feels twice his age because of the grueling job that he has. He goes out every day in the northwest of England with his horse to scrape the seashore for shrimp, which he sells for not very much money. Then one day a man called Edgar turns up in his kitchen with a wad of cash and a proposition, and Thomas wonders if this is the moment his life is going to change. This book really took me by surprise. I would say it's perfect for fans of Claire Keegan and Muriel Spark. It is small, but it is mighty, and a lot of it feels like the prose is dancing underwater. It's really gorgeous. A historical novel that I have probably mentioned in an autumn recommendations before is this one, which is The Other Bennet Sister by Janice Hadlow, but I wanted to give it another shout out. One, because it's brilliant, and two, because there is going to be an adaptation of this one as well. So if you haven't picked it up, I would say now is the time. This is a book that is partly set during Pride and Prejudice and then partly set afterwards, and we're following following Mary, the middle sister, the middle Bennet sister, and her journey. And honestly, I just think this is canon now. When I think of Pride and Prejudice, this is real to me. It's so fully realised, funny, endearing. If you like Pride and Prejudice, then you need to read The Other Bennet Sister. Cold Enough for Snow by Jessica Au, one of my absolute favourites. I think about it all the time. This is set in Tokyo in the autumn, and it's about a mother and daughter reuniting and eating at cafes and walking along the canal and dancing around the topics that they really want to talk about, because they don't know what their relationship is anymore. The daughter is doing a lot of the mothering instead of the other way around, and it's just so realistic, cozy, awkward. I adored it. Before I talk about all the books that I would read if I had an infinite amount of time to curl up under a blanket with a hot chocolate and a roaring fire, let's quickly talk about children's books. About this time last year, I made a video where I recommended 150 children's picture books, board books, and since then you have been asking me for more of those. I used to be a children's bookseller, I'm a children's author, and obviously I'm now a parent, so I have a special love for children's books. I will talk about more children's books in my Christmas gift guide video, which will be going up next month, but let's touch on some autumnal ones now. Nearly all of these are books that can be enjoyed by everyone, but I would say the first two are primarily just for children. So this is When Autumn Comes by Ekaterina Trukhan. I love this, but I wouldn't buy it for myself. It's my daughter's favourite book, and she is 1.5. So this is one of 4 books. Can you guess what the other ones are called? The winter one is coming out like next week, and spring and summer is already out. And this follows a family throughout the seasons. Look at those end papers, talking about the different things that they're up to. Spotting hedgehogs that are covered in leaves, searching for conkers, raking up leaves, picking apples, baking apple pie, and it's just so lovely. I love the colour palette in this. And then on every single page you have to find a tiny spider, and my daughter loves looking for the spiders. She's memorised where they are because she can find them quicker than I can. I would say the series is quite repetitive in format, but that doesn't matter because you're probably only going to be reading each one in that season. You're not going to be reading all 4 at once, probably. I love it. I think it's gorgeous. And then the other one I wanted to give a shout out to that is specifically for children is A Field Guide to Autumn, Play and Learn in Nature by Gabby, Dawnay and Dorian Browers. I was sent this series for review from Thames and Hudson. And I look forward to reading these with my daughter when she's a bit older. She's too young for it right now, but in a year or two I think she's going to be all over this. And I'll include these in my Christmas gift guide as well because I think they're lovely. These are poems that you can read about the specific season, a look at things that you might want to go out and find in the specific season that it's writing about, information in this one on mushrooms and spiders, on making jam, on clothes that you might want to wear to go out prepared for the weather, discussions about the weather. It's just very wholesome and lovely. Then I want to talk about books illustrated by Julia Sarda. I think that Julia Sarda is my favourite contemporary illustrator. I just adore her work so much. So a couple of years ago I read her book The Queen in the Cave, which is about 3 sisters, and their eldest sister has decided that she's too old to play with the younger ones, and she goes off on an adventure which feels a little bit dangerous and risky. It's kind of Alice in Wonderland-ish, and the illustrations are, well, they're quite Tove Jansson. They also remind me of Adventure Time and a bit Morris Sendak, a mixture of lots of different things, but I loved it. And I didn't realise it was going to be the first in a series, but the second one just came out following the second sister and her journey as she becomes older, and it's called The Witch in the Tower. And one day she decides she's going to play a game where she walks and walks until she can't walk anymore, and that's when she meets the witch in the tower and realises that maybe she's a witch herself. Let me show you the illustrations because they are just absolutely stunning. I would say even more stunning than the first book. Just absolutely gorgeous. Let's do one more. Here's another one. I mean, come on. What's not to love about that? And another book illustrated by Julia Sarda, but not written by Julia Sarda, that I wanted to give a shout out to is Myriam Dahman's and Nicolas Digard's The Owl Witch. They wrote a book called The Wolf Secret, which was also illustrated by Julia Sarda a couple of years ago. But this one is about a woman who is an owl witch and she goes off on an adventure. It's also a queer love story. And again, obviously the illustrations are absolutely beautiful. So I would say these are really for, I don't know, children between the ages of 5 and 9, but I love them as an adult, and they're definitely on the darker side, so bear that in mind if you are buying them for younger people in your life. A book that I love for this time of year is Flock by Gemma Koomen. This is about a young girl called Sylvia who lives in a tree and she likes keeping herself to herself. She's not really part of the local community until one day she makes friends with this little bird and she flies with its flock and she realises what it's like to be around people who want to be around you and you want to be around, and it's about building community, and it's just really lovely and wholesome. On the wholesome, lovely front, we've also got Little Witch Hazel, which is by Phoebe Wahl, and I would say this is middle grade, so 8 to 12. This is about Little Witch Hazel and adventures that she goes on throughout the seasons, where she's helping other people in the woods. Let me find you an example of the illustrations. As you can see, they are rather autumnal. The one for autumn is called The Haunted Stump. Another picture book I wanted to give a shout out to is Matthew Forsythe's Pokko and the Drum, which is about a young frog who's given a drum and chaos ensues. I would say it is about, well, not inappropriate, but kind of hilarious. Parents may have regret presents that are given to their children. So yeah, Pokko is given a drum. At the beginning, the parents, autumnal end papers ahoy, the parents are talking about other presents that they have regretted in the past, like the slingshot and, wait for it, the llama. It tickles me, this book, it tickles me a lot. This one will make you very hungry. This is Mama's Special Wonton Soup by Mei Wei Wong, illustrated by Jin Yu Zhu. And this is about a young girl who has to go out and buy lots of different ingredients to make her mother's soup. And it's also about community and sharing food, and it's just really, really lovely. When the Stammer Came to Stay by Maggie O'Farrell, illustrated by Daniela Terrazzini, came out last year and I loved it. It really reminded me of Ballet Shoes by Noel Stretfield, and it's about two sisters, one of whom develops a stammer, and it's based on Maggie's own experience of having a stammer. And her parents have lodges, so their house is always full of different people. I think that's why it reminded me of Ballet Shoes. But this one again is middle grade, so around 8, 9 for an age range, but I loved it as an adult. It's lovely. Coralie Bickford-Smith. This is the queen of autumn right here. This is The Squirrel and the Lost Treasure. She has made other books, but this one is the one that's the most autumnal. How's that for autumn? A huge acorn, and we've got squirrel here. So he has buried lots of acorns, and then he finds that he can't remember where they are. Very relatable, I find. I misplace things all the time. This one, gorgeous. Winelli at the end of the children's book recommendations. Sato the Rabbit by Yuki Inoue. This is a collection of palm of the hand illustrated stories. It's translated from the Japanese by Michael Blakowski. And it's about collecting moonlight and turning it into tea, which I know sounds really sickly sweet, but I don't think it is when you're actually reading it, and I speak as a quite cynical person, but it's kind of like the Moomins meets the Little Prince. That's how I would pitch it to you. This is just very cozy, and ultimate cozy is Mouse's Wood by Alice Melvin. There are 3 in this series. A 4th one is coming out next year, and we follow Mouse throughout the seasons in the wood as he hangs out with his friends, and it's rhyming. Should we find the one for October? Because that's very appropriate. Oh, I was on it anyway. Here we go. This is October's page. I'm going to have to lean quite far so you can see it. October comes and dusk descends, the bluster strips the trees, we chase and chatter, speed and scatter, kicking up the leaves. And this is Squirrel's house up here, and you can see all the things that are inside Squirrel's house. Yeah, it is the most gorgeous book, and I have gifted it to many a child and many an adult. So those are all the children's books. Let's move on to the books I would read if I had all the autumnal time in the world. As I said, I would recommend Fortnight in September by R.C. Sherriff. I bought that for my mum as a just because present, I think, just after I finished reading it. And then the Christmas that year, I bought her Green Gates, which is another book by R.C. Sherriff. She's read it and I haven't read it yet. And she said she loved this more than Fortnight in September. And she really enjoyed that one. So I really should read this at some point soon. This is about an old married couple, I think. And I think the husband has just retired and he's trying to work out what to do with his time. I don't need to know more than that. Then we've got A Simple Intervention by Yael Inokai, and this is translated from the German by Mariel Sutherland, and the first line is October, a time for ghosts. I see myself in the mirror as a young woman again. So obviously set at this time of year. Excellent. This is a dystopian book, and I do gravitate towards dystopian, haunting, creepy books at this time of year. And I believe that this is about a world where illness, disability, etc. can all be cured, but that is not having the effect on society that perhaps ableist people would think it would have. So it says that it has echoes of Kazuo Ishiguro and Margaret Atwood. So I am getting Never Let Me Go vibes from this, which is very exciting. Then Bliss Montage by Ling Ma. I loved her book Severance, which is an apocalyptic book, very creepy, not related to the TV show Severance. This is a collection of short stories, and I have read the first one, which is about a woman who lives in a house with all of her ex-boyfriends, and it was just a little bit weird, and I also gravitate towards the weird at this time of year, so maybe I'll pick that up. Huma Qureshi's book that I recommended in the other section got me to thinking that I would like to read another book by her, and I don't read much about romance or love. I don't know why, I don't gravitate towards it very often, but I think if I did, I would want to do it at this time of year. Some people may associate it with summer, but I think, I don't know, cozy feelings this time of year for me, I think. So this is How We Met, a memoir of love and other misadventures by Huma Qureshi. And this is a non-fiction book that she wrote about how she met her husband, I think. Yeah, so it says, growing up in the 1990s, Huma straggled two worlds, school and teenage crushes in one, the expectations and unwritten rules of her family's South Asian social circle in another. Reconciling the two was sometimes a tightrope act, but she managed it until it came to marriage. So she ends up meeting a man who's neither Pakistani nor Muslim nor brown, and therefore technically not suitable at all. When your worlds collide, how do you measure one love against another? I love her writing so much, so I'm sure I'm going to adore this. Something else I gravitate towards at this time of year is books about food. I just love cooking at this time of year. I love baking at this time of year. So obviously I would like that in my books as well, please. So I've got In the Kitchen, Essays on Food and Life. This is one of Dawn Books anthologies. I have loved their At the Pond collection before, which is about swimming in the Hampstead ponds. And they have a few others out as well. One on gardening that I've gifted to a few people. So yeah, this one is on my list. Then we've got The Chili Bean Paste Clan. That was hard to say for some reason, by Yang Ge, whose book Strange Beasts of China is just a book I think about all the time. This is about food and family, and I hope that I will really love it. Then we've got Cooking in the Wrong Century by Theresa Prauer. This is translated from the German by Alena Updegraff. And it says, for the hostess, food has always been about growing up. From the pancakes your grandmother made you, dolloped with jam, to the salty glug of your first oyster. Now, poised at the brink of midlife, the hostess prepares for a dinner party in her new apartment. With a hunger for the finer things in life, she folds linen napkins into neat triangles, arranges wildflowers for that table, and puts on a jazz playlist that projects effortless cool. But then it all starts to go wrong. I might read this alongside this, which is a proof copy I have of a book that's coming out in November called The Dinner Party by Viola van der Sand. And this is about a couple, I think, who are hosting a dinner party, and something really bad happens before the dinner party starts, but they go ahead with it anyway, and you're watching all of these tensions. Books set at dinner parties are some of my favourites, as you know, so I'm hoping those two really do pay off. A slightly creepy book that's on my TBR that I thought I would throw into this pile is Odd Body by Rose Keating. So a collection of short stories, I think mainly focused on body horror, and it's got quotes on from people like Camilla Khodrova and Kirsty Logan, whose writing I also really love. And then finally, a book I've bought and I'm unsure of, and I would love to know your opinions as to whether or not you think I'll enjoy it, because it's a book I've seen everywhere and I'm not sure if it's going to be a bit twee for me, possibly. This is The Bookshop Woman by Nanako Hanada, translated from the Japanese by Kat Anderson. This is a non-fiction book about a woman who opens a bookshop in Japan, and that just sounds perfect to me, something that I would love. But a couple of people have said to me that they're not sure it's my cup of tea, so you let me know whether you think it will be my cup of tea, and I will report back and let you know if it actually was when I get round to reading it. So those are my autumnal recommendations, and also the books I would love to read, and I'm sure I will get to some of them in the autumn months this year. I would love to know what books you would recommend, or if you've read any of these or would like to now that you have watched this video. If you are new to my channel and you like this video and you would like to subscribe, that would be lovely. And if you enjoy the content that I put out and you would like to throw $1 in the tip jar over on Patreon, that would be very kind. There are a few extra things over there, behind the scenes stuff, book club, bookish quizzes, stuff like that. Link is in the description box down below, and support I receive over there allows me to keep creating free content for you on here. Thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you for another video very soon. I'm sending lots of love. Bye.